All right, we'll be starting in just a couple of minutes. Just as I look up a couple of last things. All right. Okay, well, it's 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. Whatever time it is where you are, you'll have to figure it out. Um, so, I am just looking up one last thing here, and then we should be able to get started. There it is. Okay, I found it. All right, so let's get started here. Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Knight, and I am the sole and lonely host of the Molehill Mountain podcast, episode 30. Andrew is not available today. He is on a flight and going on his Christmas vacation, and he doesn't like to pay for the in flight Wi Fi. I don't know why. He probably should just to say he did. But it's not there, or he's not going to be available in chat or on the podcast with me. And I was kind of lazy today and didn't have time, didn't round up a guest host. So it'll be just me today and you, my lovely viewers, who are in the chat, hopefully going to say something. Today, I wanted to talk about let's see. Last week I talked about how I started back up playing Ark the Lad. Excuse me. Hope I don't do that very often during the podcast. So I started playing Ark the Lad. I'm playing this on my PSP, and it's like I've said a million times before, it's the best gaming purchase I've ever made. but I started playing Arc the Lad again. I realized after I started playing it again that I was actually halfway through the game, even though I'd only played like 6 hours. This game is short. I beat it on Thursday, and and I played less than 13 hours. And I was expecting a much longer game, and so I was kind of disappointed. Now I haven't done everything, and I'm probably just going to replay it at some point because I missed a lot of content, a lot of accessories and things that you can only get at certain points during the game. And since the game is only 12 hours or so just for the main quest, I don't think it would be that big of a deal to play through it again. Granted, there are a few side quests. I guess you could call them side quests, where you can get and do other things and get some extra accessories, and that I think would probably double the gameplay time, maybe even triple it. I'm not sure. For instance, there's a dungeon in the game where you have to traverse 50 floors and get to the bottom, and at the bottom of the dungeon there's a one of a kind item, and also a summon monster that you have a character named Chungara, and he has this little magic pot that he can summon monsters out of. And down at the bottom of this 50 floor dungeon, that's where his final summon is. But once you beat that summon and get that one of a kind item, then you have to traverse all 50 floors back up in order to leave. So everything I've read says that takes about 4 hours to do. And then the other thing, another thing is that there's a tournament where it's a one-on-one tournament, and you get items for beating a certain number of battles in this tournament. And the final prize is after beating 2,000 of these things, and going from entering the arena to selecting the character that's going to fight in the tournament to actually completing the tournament battle. That takes about, depending on how lucky you are, whether you can get all your attacks in real quick, that can take 5 to 10 minutes for each battle, and so 5 to 10 minutes times 2,000, and that's a lot of time spent fighting these tournaments. Shoot, now I got to do the math here. Let's just say 5 minutes. So 2,000 battles times 5, and we're gonna multiply or divide that by 60. That's 10,000 minutes divided by 60. Holy cow. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's 166 hours. Yeah, I don't think I'm doing that. I don't know. I'm assuming my math is right here, because it is 2,000 tournament battles you have to win in order to get that final prize. And yeah, I'm not doing that at all. Because it took me about, let's see, it took me about 2 hours, maybe 3, in order to get 40. So let's go 2,000 divided by 40. That's 50 times 2, 100 hours. Seriously, no amount of math is going to make this tournament worthwhile, doing 2,000 battles. But Yeah, but otherwise, there's some other things that I would love to complete in this game in order to get in order to feel fully accomplished. But the game itself seems to be a setup, a prelude almost for 12 hours of gameplay. It's almost just a prelude into our Arc the Lad 2, and it even has the to be continued at the end of the game. It leaves you on a somewhat of a cliffhanger, and so I'm gonna have to purchase Arc the Lad 2. You can transfer your save file over, and that's one of the reasons why I want to play the game over again, so that I can max out all my characters' levels and get all the items that I can, except for that tournament, because there's no way I'm doing that tournament. I'm sorry, 100 to 200 hours. I'm not doing that. But you get to keep most of the items, or all the items, and then uh, all your levels and experience for all your characters, and going into Arc the Lad 2. And I figured it out how to do this, because the PSP creates a memory card for each individual game, PlayStation 1 Classic game. And so the way you transfer files from one game to another is you have to transfer the save file from the PSP to your PlayStation 3, and then back again the into the proper memory card on your PSP. And that's how you got to do that. And it's a little annoying in that regard, but at least it's doable. And so there's that. And so I've started playing Grandia and haven't gotten very far at all. I'm still at the very, very, very beginning of the game. I haven't even started the RPG part of it yet. It's mostly just an introduction to two of the main characters, and like a little fetch quest sort of thing, to, I guess, to get me used to traversing the world, or traversing towns and stuff, and looking for items. The game so far reminds me a lot of Breath of Fire 3 and how it plays. Um, because in Breath of Fire 3, you've got a isometric view, and you can rotate the world in order to look at things in a different angle. And that's the same thing with Grandia. And so once I actually get to play it, I will probably have more thoughts on it again. But other than that, I haven't played much. Let's see. I got to spend like 10 minutes with a Ludum Dare game that a local developer made, called Rocket Dad. They don't have a website, unfortunately, yet. Um, or they don't have a website yet, unfortunately. So I can't really point you to it. But the primary developer and designer, his name is Josh Magard, or Magard. I don't remember how to pronounce his name properly. And if you search itch.io for him, you could see some of the games that they've made. A lot of them are Ludum Dare games, but these guys are really talented developers, and they're working on a couple. They're working on a title right now called Minima, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, and which is a really fun puzzle game, adventure puzzle game. So, uh, they're the Ludum Dare game that they made this time is called Monolith, and I think the theme for Ludum Dare was like a room within a room or something like that, and so that's where the theme kind of comes from. So you got each room is a platformer puzzle thing where you got to find keys, and then which unlocks the next room, and then you can go back and forth between all the different rooms using the monolith in the center of it. So it's kind of cool. I haven't gotten to play too far. The controls were particularly jumping is kind of touchy. I'm having a hard time staying on platforms, and so it's not. And that makes it a little more difficult, especially to get some of these keys in the different levels. But Yeah, that's definitely kind of fun. I want to finish it so I can write up a proper review of it, and then and then finally, I started, or I decided to revisit a game jam game of my own. It's called Glug Cave, and 2 years ago, my brother and we developed it at a game convention called Super BitCon here in Oklahoma City, and we decided to do a game jam right there in the convention and let people watch us make the games, and it was a really cool experience. We really had a lot of fun, um, and uh, and so we made this and ended up only having one level, but we didn't get all the content programmed in that we wanted in it, and so I'm looking at it now and decided to revisit this game and see if I can make some improvements and make it a little more fun, add that additional content we wanted, create some more levels, and kind of make it more of a full-fledged game, because the concept is really fun and it is really neat. That you play a a water drop, a living water drop named Gargle, and you start at one point in the level, and you have to find the pool of water at the other end, and all the while you have to knock out dirt clods that are in your way, find cracks in find cracked rocks in the walls in order to move about and avoid anything that could hurt you, such as we got these little fire sprites that run around the level, and we're going to add. Our goal was to add little sticks, piles of sticks that these these balls of light, if they touch these little sticks, they catch on fire and they light on fire for a couple of seconds and then spawn one of the fire sprites. And so that's as far as that. That was the main content we wanted in there. And if I can get this fully working, I'll probably talk to my brother about what else we want to see in there to add a little more variety in other levels. Just but the goal is to find the puddle at the end without losing all your health, and picking up little drops of water along the way. So the more water you have in your health, the better you did in the level. So yeah, just something a little fun and challenging that we wanted to do. And then I want to see if I can finish that up again, or make it better. But moving on, before I get into the main part of the podcast, where I look back at some of the interesting things that happened during the year, and looking forward to next year, I wanted to talk about something that came from Facepunch, the developers of Rust. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Rust or have forgotten about it, Rust is it's not really an MMO. It's just an online multiplayer game where you play in a persistent online world, which I guess is an MMO, but you play with other people. And when you start the game, you are randomly assigned a gender and a race, and that's what you're stuck with. That specific configuration of your character is tied to your Steam ID, and you cannot change it ever. So that itself made a lot of people unhappy, and I laughed at them because they're stupid. It's like, black people, women, they get stuck playing a white guy all the time. So don't complain when you get stuck playing a brown woman, but so the game was released in early access, and so it wasn't complete. It's still not done. These guys have not have not moved the game out of early access yet. And so the Rust developers, they've gone through what they call a ping pong loop, and this is what they described it. It says Newman, let me see, Gary Newman, he's the founder of Facepunch. He says, I'm noticing a pattern and we need to address it. Um, and it says the issue is a ping pong loop in which we release an update, you love it for a month, you get bored, blame the system, gripe for a few months, and then we release another update, and the same thing happens. So the developers have noticed people will play and love it, and then start complaining because it gets stale or whatever, because they're not releasing updates fast enough or something. Who knows? Um, and uh, and and then he goes on to say, my worry is that this is going to be a constant thing. We're not going to hit a point where you go, yep, don't change anything, keep it like it is, because it's not that one particular system is much better than the other. It's just that one is fresher than the other. So he's talking about uh, people like the new updates for a while and then realize, oh, but it's not like how it used to be or whatever, and they just complain. And so Newman has a suggestion for those on Rust, and this is a very interesting suggestion that something that I don't think I've seen from any game developer as far as I know. He says, if you're bored of the game, then just stop playing it. But before you get angry about it, consider whether we have given you enough entertainment over the last 3 years to justify pocketing your $20. I know this probably sounds dismissive, but that's not how I want it to be. I'm trying to be pragmatic. If you're interested in the game, if you play regularly and still get enjoyment when you play, we're definitely interested in hearing what you think. We especially love hearing your stories, watching your videos, seeing your screenshots and paintings, all the things that this subreddit has been very low on. If we want to leave early access, then breaking this loop has to be part of that plan. We have a pretty good idea on how to push forward with Rust, but none of it is going to make the game more appealing to the people or to people that have spent their last 1,000 hours hating it. Which, to me, it seems that, if you're playing a game for 1,000 hours and you say you hate it, why are you playing? Seriously, why are you playing? So yeah, I agree with Newman here. If you've paid $20 for this game and you feel that you have gotten all the enjoyment you're going to get out of it, then just play something else. Let those people who actually care about the game, actually enjoy it regularly, continue playing it without all your griping and moaning. Seriously. So, but yeah, that's just something interesting that I've seen, and really thought was just a new take on from, or something new from a game designer that I've never seen before, where they actually tell gamers to stop playing the game. And so I think more game developers need to do that. If all you're going to do is gripe and moan about what we do with this game, then don't play it. And that's something that, yeah, we've seen lots before, where people will complain that X isn't the way they want it, or nobody should like X or whatever, and it's just like, dude, if you don't like it, don't play it, don't buy it, don't do anything. Let other people enjoy it if they want to enjoy it. So definitely an interesting story, and I haven't looked to see the reaction from the Rust community, but I'm sure it's it's a blast. I'm sure we're talking about Reddit here, where Reddit is just an echo chamber of hate sometimes, especially around games like that. But moving on, getting into my actual topic of the day. I wanted to talk about some of the things that happened over the last year, and just kind of share my thoughts on the year 2016, and and what made it an interesting year. And so I would say the biggest stories of the year, as far as or at least as far as I know, is Nintendo. All came from Nintendo. This year is when the the rumors about the NX went wild. Everybody was just talking about everything. It's like, this is what the NX is going to be. It's going to be a round uh, controller with a touchscreen across the entire thing, with little holes cut in for your analog sticks. And it's like, no, the NX is going to be a hybrid portable home console system, and all that. And then eventually Nintendo announced the NX, and it was that portable handheld console, portable, or the hybrid portable home console system. And it looks really good. We have zero information still. There's lots of rumors, lots of supposed leaks about what it is, what it's like. We're not going to find out anything specific about it until January 12th. And when I say specific, I'm talking about things like price point and release date, games that are confirmed for it, and stuff like that. We don't know any of that stuff, and it's really sad. The rumored release date is March of next year, and so it would be nice to know some of these things before then. But January 12th is when we'll find out, and it's actually going to be January 12th at like 10 at night here at my time. So I'm gonna have to stay up late and watch that so that I can get all that news right away. Um, but so there was that. And then there was the NES Classic, which is another big piece of news, and everybody talked about this thing out the wazoo, and it was just a big news piece. People just thought it was the coolest idea, and my first reaction was, finally. As Atari, Sega, ColecoVision, um, and a couple other classic consoles have all done the same thing in the past, or at least licensed out the rights to specific games to a third party to make these things. And finally, Nintendo decided, you know what, that might be a good idea. And so they released the NES Classic with 30 games, and most of them are great games. No, they're great games. Andrew and I, we had a big discussion about what games we would have liked to have seen, and you guys shared a lot of great uh, suggestions as well. And we even got to theorize what an SNES Classic might have on it. But the really big news coming out with the NES Classic is the fact that it was short stocked. The last article I saw said less than 200,000 have been sold so far, and they've not been on the shelf anywhere. So 200,000 at launch was a terrible decision by Nintendo. They should have released more. They should have allowed pre-orders to gauge interest. The controller cords need to be at least 6 feet, preferably 8, because these stupid 2.5, 3 foot cords were the worst idea ever. But other than that, the system seems pretty solid. Everybody that I've read, everybody that actually got one to play rather than to hawk, have loved it. So good deal there. And then finally, Nintendo made its jump into mobile, and they started with Miitomo, which was really cool, the cool thing for about a month, and then kind of died out. I don't know anybody that's still on Mitomo. I haven't been on it since a month or so after it came out. Then the next big game is Pokemon Go, and that's made some really terrible design decisions, and but otherwise has been mostly what really it's been what I expected it to be. Some people are really disappointed that it's not a mobile Pokemon game, like an actual handheld Pokemon game where you walk around the world and battle Pokemon and all that stuff. A lot of people are disappointed in that, and I get that. I get that would be disappointing, but for me, it's fun. It's fun to go and chase after the Pokemon. I still haven't completed my Pokédex yet, and I'm not talking about just the legendaries. I'm talking about like I have maybe 20 Pokemon left to get that just never seem to spawn in my area. I still don't even have a Charmeleon. That's how bad it is. There's Charmanders just don't spawn worth crap around here. Squirtles do a little bit better. I do have a War Turtle, but Charmanders just don't spawn at all around here, and it sucks. Um, um, so Pokemon Go, lots of bad design decisions, and they still haven't made up for that. Their most recent bad design decision was to release only baby Pokemon from Gen 2, and only in new eggs that you get, not your existing eggs. So if you have a full slate of eggs, you have to burn through all of them in order to start getting the chance of getting the new baby Pokemon, and that was a terrible design decision. It's like I don't have the patience to do that. So I'm just playing it normally, and I did get one baby Pokemon out of a 2K egg, Igglybuff. So I still have 4 more to go. Let's see, the Pichu, the Cleffa, Lekid, Magby, and Togepi. So 5, I guess. Um, but yeah. And then finally, Nintendo finally released their first official Mario game for the iTunes or for iTunes, and apparently people love it. I actually got to play it, and I should have talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. I just completely spaced it. I actually did get to play it on my iPad, and it worked just fine. And you get the first 3 levels, so world 1-1, 1-2, and 1-3, and then you get to play world 1-4 for like 30 seconds or something like that. I forget how long it was. So not enough time to actually beat World 1-4, but enough time to get a feel for it. What I wish they would have done was let you get all the way to the Koopa at the end, the boss at the end, whatever it would be, and then stop the game, which would have been a really terrible tease, but I think it would have been a more impactful tease for people. But so you get to play that. You get to play a little bit of the Toad Rally, which is the actual endless, not really endless runner. You get a certain amount of time to traverse this looping world and gather coins. And the more coins you get, the more toads you get. And if you get all the toads, then you can expand your kingdom, which is in the world builder part. And all in all, the game is actually very fun, very much a Mario title. I enjoyed it. I'm not the one that's just going to drop $10 on it, though. Not because I don't think it's worth $10. It's just I don't see myself playing it that much, just because the only device it's available on in my house is the iPad, and the iPad is typically taken over by my youngest daughter. And so I don't ever get any time to spend on it. And I would prefer to have the thing on my Android phone, but it's not available on Android. So there's that. But there are a lot of people upset, and very weirdly so. Um, I talked to one person on Twitter who said that they were deleting the app because it asked them, it gave them they hit a paywall, and it said in order to continue playing the game you had to pay $10. And I asked them, why do you not think it's worth $10? They're like, oh no, if they had just asked for $10 up front, like before I downloaded it, I probably would, but I just don't like paywalls. I'm like, dude, it's a free demo. Just treat it like that. You're getting a demo of the game and then making the decision whether to continue. Just because you don't like that doesn't mean. This is one of the things that really confused me and annoyed me about people that didn't like the Ouya free to try system, because it's like, dude, it's a free demo. That's all it is. You get to play a demo of the game, and then you get to decide if you want to pay for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have a weird society when it comes to things like this, but the Super Mario Run did make the top grossing apps, and so they are making money off it. People are paying $10 for it. I don't know if Nintendo is going to implement a pay up front option. I don't know if Apple allows that. Like, you can pay $10 now and download it, or download it and then pay $10. I don't know if Apple does that. But it would be nice if they had that option. It's like, pay $10, download the full app, or just download the demo app and pay $10 as an in-app purchase. That would be kind of, I guess it could be kind of confusing. But moving on. Okay, enough about Nintendo. Some other interesting things that happened this year, and probably one of the saddest, is that Game Politics shut down. Game politics started way back when video game laws, or anti-video game laws, were really huge, a really big deal. Everybody was trying to get an anti-video game law introduced in state legislatures, towns, cities, and even in the federal government. And so game politics started during that heat, that time, and we had big names such as Jack Thompson and Leland Yee and Joe Lieberman and even Hillary Clinton. But a lot of people were introducing these laws and fighting against video games. And so game politics was started about that. And then finally in 2012, I'm probably getting my date wrong here. Brown v. EMA. All right. Yeah, 2011. Okay, so Brown v. EMA, which started out as Schwarzenegger v. EMA, which is really cool. So that happened in 2011, and that pretty much killed, like, knocked the wind out of every anti-video game person's sales. It's like nobody introduced laws after that, or at least the ones that were introduced never went anywhere. They were just kind of puff bills that's like, see what I'm doing? I'm trying to fight the video games. So really nothing happened after that. And so game politics focused mostly on legal issues between game developers and publishers and stuff like that, and some other stories of interest, and so eventually there just wasn't enough interest going in it, that the Entertainment Consumers Association, the ECA, decided that it wasn't worth keeping up online, and so they finally shut it down. And I was very sad because I would have loved them to have left it up and just keep um, at least keep the archive alive. But for now, you can just go to archive to the Wayback Machine and look at it. But yeah, so that was a really sad day for me, especially because I was Andrew and I were really active there, and a lot of you guys, a lot of the viewers of this podcast came from there. But since that's not, but again, we're that just because game politics shuts down doesn't mean these stories don't happen. There's still lots of interesting things going on. Specifically, something from July of this year, the American Academy of Pediatrics, they released a policy statement, and this is basically what they want to see happen in their industry. And one of the things they want to see are more video game laws, more anti-video game laws. And they want the media to ignore everybody that doesn't agree with them, and it's a great story. But yeah, the story on Random Tower is American Academy of Pediatrics pines for video game legislation in new policy statement, and you should read that. There's lots of fun choice quotes in there. They even talk about how the Supreme Court got Brown v. EMA wrong, and it's good. And then as kind of a more recent aspect to this, that sort of story, coming out of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, we have Nora Volkow. She's the national director of it. This is a hilarious quote here. She says, "The development of very, very fancy video games has resulted in a pattern of compulsive use of these games that may serve as a substitute for drug taking. I'm speculating, but it needs to be tested." So basically, she's saying that all the research that's going on is saying that teens aren't using drugs as much as they used to. And she's trying to find some reason to explain that doesn't come down to teens just aren't using drugs, and her go-to scapegoat for this is video games, and how we need to look into finding out what about video games is making the kids not use drugs or being addicted to video games. Really, really stupid thing. I just thought that was hilarious, and went along with the American Psychiatric or American Academy of Pediatrics. Another story that was of interest to a lot of people is that E3 opened its doors for at least a day or two for the public. There was a public event that people could go to, and that was something that people have been asking for years, which kind of harkened back to the way E3 was around the turn of the century, and so I don't know how well it went. I didn't follow up on it, but that was something that I thought was cool. Let's see, Nintendo. Or sorry, Nintendo. Disney decided to can Disney Infinity, their game, which is a far inferior game to Skylanders as far as I'm concerned. With Skylanders, you get the figures, and you can play any figure in any level and have fun. But with Disney Infinity, each figure can only be used in its own world in those levels. So if you wanted to play a Star Wars level, you had to have a Star Wars character. And if you had a Marvel character, you couldn't bring that Marvel character into the Star Wars level. Really, really sad and annoying restriction on the game. But they did have a toy box area, and my only experience with the toy box was a big flat plane where you could build stuff in, like make a level, and you could use any character in it. Not really what I'm looking for in a video game. Sorry, Disney. But they decided that Disney Infinity just wasn't worth the trouble and decided to can it. Even though it is still available, they're just not releasing new content for it. So what's out there is all you're going to get. I don't know when they plan on shutting down servers or anything like that, but yeah. Let's see here. Another big game from this year is Overwatch. Huge game from Blizzard. It it's a big team-based arena battle or arena shooter, and people love it. It's took off. Um, Blizzard did some really good game design on it and character design, and so really cool. Looking at some of the trends that other websites are looking at is VR is finally taking off. Video game consoles are finally are doing more. What do they call it? Um, Hardware incrementation, where Nintendo or PlayStation released its PlayStation 4 Pro. Nintendo did the new 3DS. I don't remember if they did that this year or last year. I think it was last year. But they did the new 3DS, which had a slightly better processor, a second analog stick, and a few other things. And Microsoft is going to be releasing their incremental improvement of the Xbox One called the codenamed the Scorpio, and a lot of this has to do with VR, making the systems available for VR, where it can actually run the things, and also to take advantage of 4K TVs. Which, why does anybody really want a 4K TV? I don't know. Let's see. The U.S. finally opened up equitable crowdfunding, where you can purchase shares. You can purchase shares in a company before go. In order to support it. With crowdfunding before, you could only basically do a pre-order of the product, but now you can actually support companies or support projects by buying shares in it. So based on how much it sells afterwards, you get a share of that back. So that's really cool, and finally gets the U.S. on the same footing as much of Europe. Let's see, and really that's about all. That's about all that I can think of that happened this year. And so looking forward into the next year, I can't say that I'm looking forward to much other than finding out what makes the Switch tick and when we're actually going to get it, how much it's going to cost, because I would love to get one. I still don't see how it's going to fit into my life beyond just being a home console, but I might be able to get some mobile gaming done on it, which would be nice. So it's like, let my kids play Minecraft on the PlayStation 3, and I can take the Switch and go play Mario or Metroid if they actually do release a new Metroid or Zelda. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the release of Cosmic Star Heroine by Zeboid Games. They are finishing up this year, and it's going to release early next year for PC, PlayStation 4, and Vita. And I can't remember if they said the Wii U and Xbox One or not, but definitely getting it on PC. I'm not getting it anywhere else because I don't have any of those systems. I'm looking forward to seeing if Microsoft or Sony actually make announcements for new consoles coming out. It's been a few years, and it seems like about that time that they'll they'll make those announcements at E3, but they probably won't, at least not this year. They'll probably wait until next year to do that. And see, it'll be interesting to see what they take from the Switch, because Microsoft and Sony have both played catch up with what Nintendo's done, and whether not really to any good degree. So like when the Wii came out with the motion controls, Microsoft and Sony rushed to get something out, where Sony did the PlayStation Move with that combined with the iToy, and gave you motion control games, and then Microsoft did the Kinect, and you just didn't have a controller at all. It was just a 3D camera that looked at you and followed your movements. And neither one of those went anywhere. And then when the Wii U came out, they both did some kind of screen sharing, or they announced it, where Sony announced using the Vita to interact with the PlayStation 3 and 4, and Microsoft announced, I forget what they called it, but it was something to do with mobile phones or tablets. You could connect it to your Xbox and do that, and and it was they never that never went anywhere. it was just a it was just a me too, and then they just said, you know what, this is kind of stupid. Let's just pretend we never said anything about it. So yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what Sony and Microsoft have in response to the Switch. And so there's that. And other than that, I really can't think of any games that are coming out this year, that this next year, that I'm really looking forward to, other than Switch titles, because honestly, I don't have any recent franchises that I have been following. Uh, so I would like to see VR make a more consumer-friendly effort, because right now all VR stuff is, to me, it feels more designed for arcade experiences, not really a home experience. So I would like to see VR find that at-home experience, where you're not just sitting on your couch and playing a video game with the screen strapped to your head. That's not what I consider a VR experience. The Vibe, the HTC Vibe, with its cameras and motion controllers, that feels more of what VR should be, or at least the stepping stone to what VR should be. But it's not home friendly because it takes up so much space, and not hardly anybody has that in their house. So definitely something that needs to find a way to reach the home consumer without just being a screen that's strapped to your face. Because right now, that's what most VR experiences are. But well, let's see here. Personal goals for the coming year is that I have scheduled another booth at BitCon, or Super BitCon, sorry, here in Oklahoma City. And my goal is to actually have a game, at least one game, out for sale, where somebody could just buy a disc or a card with a promo code on it or something from me, at this booth, and play the game there too. Because I would like it so that people could play the game and say, this is fun. Can I have it? And say, yeah, it's right here, $5, something like that. That would be that's my goal, and that's going to happen at the end of April. So I have a few months to get that to get that to that point. And hopefully, Glug Cave will be one of those. And I need to finish up Shattered Star Prelude, and so hopefully I will have those into at that point ready for people to try and play, and at the end of April. Uh, but uh, but yeah, and so yeah, my goal is to have be making some money off my games, and preferably enough to make it worth making games, because right now I'm not making anything. Um, so that's my personal goal. I would like to see Random Tower do much better. Same with OK Game Devs releasing more content. I'd like to do that throughout the next year, and I could use you guys' support if you go to patreon.com/easynight. Um, I think that's what my hand. Let me Patreon. Oh, and I'm logged out. Good, good, good. Now I have to log in, and you get to watch me log in. But if you go to patreon.com/easynight, that's where I am, and just a couple of dollars a month. If I can get to $25 a month, that will pay for all of my hosting fees, all my domain renewals, and so I wouldn't have to stress about any of that. And I would love to get a lot more than that, of course. Um, yeah, but so that's my first goal, is to get $25 a month, and I would love for you guys to support me on that. Um, and the more I make, the more I can give to you guys, provide better content and more unique content. Because I would love to get some video capture cards and do some streaming. I can do streaming from my PC, but I don't play a lot of games that I think people would find interesting. Most of my gaming could be done from consoles. I'd love to stream some of that. Um, but yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to this year, and I hope you guys have some cool stuff that you want to see. Just put some, write something in the comments of this video, or on Random Tower when we post this video uh, next week, early next week. So definitely follow up with that and let me know what you guys are looking forward to this next year. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this podcast. I'm Zachary Knight. You can follow me on Twitter at Easy Knight. You can follow my game development work at DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. And check out the Oklahoma game development scene at OK Game Devs on Twitter and OKGameDev.com. And this has been Molehill Mountain, episode 30. You can catch up on all the backlog over at randomtower.com, and check out some of the stuff that Andrew and I write there. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. We aren't going to have a podcast over the next 2 weeks, so it'll be the first weekend of January, which will be the 7th of January, when we will have our next podcast. So I will see you in 3 weeks. So see you guys later. Bye.